Bret Baier is here, my co-anchor for special coverage tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern on Fox News Channel and, of course, on Special Report. Prior to that, here's a good picture of Bret with Vice President Cheney. You interviewed him many times, traveled on Air Force Two with him. Bret, your thoughts on his passing today?
Yeah, I traveled with him a lot as I covered that White House, really around the world. You know, what I remember about him is his sole focus post 9/11 about the security of the country, and that was his driving force. He was by far one of the most powerful vice presidents we've ever seen, in part because President George W. Bush enabled him to have that power. But you know, on 9/11, when Bush is down in Florida, Vice President Cheney goes down into the bunker inside the White House and essentially gets to the point where he's ordering the shoot down of planes if they're threatening people in the United States. So that became his sole focus. He was obviously controversial, in part because he was that powerful, but also some of his, policies that he talked about were on the edge. And, that came back to bite the Bush administration a few times. But in person, he could be very dry-witted and funny. He loved his family. He obviously got emotional about President Trump and fought as a Republican against the president, and that lost him a lot in MAGA world, obviously, as did his daughter, Liz Cheney.
Yeah, they both said that they were going to vote for Kamala Harris as we got towards the election in 2024. But I think it's very interesting when you watch President Trump and the actions he's taking now. We won't know, but I would love to know what former Vice President Cheney thinks about, for example, the blowing up of boats that are carrying drugs towards the United States, because he was all about protecting the homeland, all about national security. President Trump has done some surprising things on that front.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he was also about expanding executive power. That was all of Vice President Dick Cheney. And you look at his long history, you mentioned it there, being congressman from Wyoming, but he was also the chairman of the Defense House Armed Services Committee. He then went on to be Defense Secretary. He was White House Chief of Staff for Gerald Ford. He and Defense Secretary Rumsfeld had a long history together as politicians and also working in the White House.
Here's one more quick clip on Iraq in an interview with you, Bret. Let's watch.
How do you feel about the cost of this war in blood and treasure 4 years later?
Well, obviously, any casualty is to be regretted. And when you see the wounded and the price they've paid for their service to the nation, and talk with the families of those who've been killed or wounded in action, it's a very emotional experience.
Who is that kid with the vice president? Who was that?
Looks like one of your boys.
Holy cow. It really does. It was a long time ago. But, yeah. That was front and center. A lot of questions about Iraq and that decision. But in his mind, it was all through the prism of 9/11, how to protect the country at all costs.
Bret, thank you. Great looking back and reflecting on the life of a consequential Vice President, Dick Cheney, who passed away earlier today. And we'll look forward to seeing you this evening. I'm looking forward to getting some results.
Hopefully
and do some analysis with you and our team tonight. Thanks, Bret.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.